monthly season 10, is that right?
Well, that's what they're calling it. It's a comic book series, so it's got its own comic book life. And it's got its own mythology, and Joe here, who will speak for himself, has come up with great ideas and great twists and turns on the characters. We're bringing a lot of characters back, as you'll see. So I have to say, it's really Joe's taking the lead. Joe's taking the lead. But is this still part of the official X-Files canon? Of the canon, yes.
Come on, say yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's good. Now, can I, spoiler alert, can I screw up the second book?
Second issue came out this week.
Second issue came out this week. And what happens in the second issue is that the gunmen are back in it. So I've been doing sci-fi conventions now, and everybody goes, oh man, so sad that the gunmen died. And I kept saying, yeah, but you didn't see our bodies in the coffin.
You died off screen.
We died off screen, and then you saw these hermetically sealed CDC steel coffins that if you have, like the gunman did, caught a super rare virus, the coffins are supposed to be built to the size of the person so that there's no airspace. And yet at the funeral, every coffin was the same size. Yet of the gunmen, one of us is shorter than the other two. So this is what I told everybody. That proved.
And one has a bigger mouth.
Yeah, Myers. What a loudmouth that guy is. So now, here, oh, look at that. We all get our name cards.
Oh, I just arrived.
Yes, you just arrived. Thank you, Jillian. I had no idea you were sitting there. I didn't know until I saw the card. Thanks so much. Yeah, you could just put
Who's
that.
the hippie in the middle of that?
What, that one?
Yeah.
That hippie?
Yeah.
That was me. Yeah, I know. I cut my hair. Oh, one person. Rusty, thank God he cleaned up. So now, I got to ask about bringing the gunman back. Whose idea was this, Chris?
It's Joe's idea.
Was it Joe's idea?
Well,
is that true, Joe?
Yeah, I suppose it was, yeah.
Oh. So you wanted me dead still?
That's a trick question.
Yeah.
Well, normally we're comic book guys, so you know, anybody who dies off panel, off screen in a comic, they're still alive.
Still alive.
Everybody dies in comics.
Exactly. So Joe, this was your idea. Tell me about how this came about. What was that conversation like?
Pretty much, I think early on we were discussing what the book would entail. I think Chris and I were pretty much in agreement. We wanted to bring the one gunman back. You died off screen, so anything's possible.
Right.
Yeah, I just think it was necessary. Part of the point of the story is to tell what's next, but also, bring back a lot of those old elements so that people can, get back to what they enjoyed, and they certainly enjoyed you.
And it feels like in a post-WikiLeaks world, like there's such a relevancy to the Lone Gunman now that like, they need to be a big part of the story.
That's right. Yeah.
And then Joe came up with a very novel book and used for the characters and how to bring them back and what they're doing now that it was very intriguing. Like it was a really good idea, so you're back.
Yes. Now, Joe, how much pressure was this on you?
Oh, just a little.
Is that right?
Just a little bit.
What was your first meeting like with Chris? How did that come about? Was it like a phone call? You just, hey, Chris, I'm going to come over.
It was a great meeting in my office. I'm going to speak real quickly. And it was like, I realized Joe very quickly. I realized he was a huge fan of the show. He knew the show inside and out. Had just, I think, done another refresher course on it, so it gave me great confidence.
Can I just quickly, like, how the whole process came about?
Yeah.
So we signed you to X-Files comics, and when you do these licensed books, you always want to get to the people that worked on the show and created the show, but it's usually not feasible for any number of reasons.
Right.
So we had a first meeting at Fox to discuss what we wanted to do with the X-Files. Joe had his plan in place. So I went up to meet with Fox and then Gabe Rodder, who works at Chris's company, and that was what the meeting was set to be. I get out of the elevator.
Just Gabe?
I get out of the elevator. I ride up the elevator with this silver-haired, handsome devil here, and I didn't make the connection. Like I look at my feet on the elevators. I don't look at the other people. So we go to the same meeting. He goes, "Hi, I'm Chris." I'm like, "Oh, Jesus Christ!" And so we sit down at a table, and Chris goes, "Well, tell me what you want to do with the X-Files." No, I can't do that. Like, please just read it and then we can talk about it. But I couldn't sit there and tell the creator of the show what we want to do with his characters. Like, it felt presumptuous and I was uncomfortable.
Wow. So then, Chris, did you read it there in the office and go, yeah, that's good?
I think we discussed it a little bit more, and then I think that we took it back and I studied it, and it just everything came together beautiful.
You had some good tweaks to offer as well.
Well, I mean,
Very much so.
I wanted to, you know. I wanted to be involved in as much as I could as a sort of creative presence, but I have to say, you know, when you have somebody who knows what they want to do and has a clear vision, you sort of roll with it.
Wow. So that's fantastic. Now, how far are we planning this season 10 to go? Like, well, how far have we sketched this out?
That's a good question. I mean, we've got outline material for a couple of years at this point, but I don't think there's any plan to end it after that.
No, we're going to build to the big lone gunman's second death. And
Damn it. So is there any talk of moving this to another medium of any sort?
Lots of talk yesterday, I know.
Yeah.
We're just the comic guys, so that's the only thing in our control is to help bring back Mulder and Scully and everybody.
I think the Broadway play is
A musical.
A musical. X-File's a musical. I cannot see it at all.
Season 10 a musical.
Oh, season 10 musical. Right. With the gunmen.
We'd have like cartoon characters, like you do, you know, like holograms.
Oh.
As cartoon characters.
The way they brought Tupac back at Coachella.
Exactly, with a lone gunman.
With the lone gunman in a three-dimensional.
I can see it now.
Oh yeah. We'll just take footage from the old show. Can I sing?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's asking? Can you sing? But you've been very busy, Jillian. I've been seeing you on stage in London.
But I've been very busy.
Well, like you're saying, I don't sing, but you're very busy. I thought you're not doing Broadway musicals, but you're doing a lot of stage work.
Ish, yes.
Ish?
Yes.
Are you doing anything else? What are we seeing in the future?
You mean ever?
I mean in the next 2 weeks. Where can we see you on stage?
Well, no, but one thing I actually do want to talk about here at the con is that I did a semi-sci-fi movie last year called I'll Follow You Down with Haley Osment and Victor Garber and Rufus Sewell. And there's a really good Facebook page they've got going right now, but I think that you guys are really going to like it. So I'll talk about that.
I want to hear about that.
Well, you just heard about it.
Oh, then moving on. No, where?
Go find it on Facebook.
When's it going to be released?
We don't know.
Where is it?
It's going to festivals. We're hoping it'll be in Toronto.
And it's semi-sci-fi?
Yeah, yeah. There's a strong sci-fi element, but that's not the main story.
Okay.
It kind of is, but we want it to be a surprise.
And you just blew it.
Maybe I should have done that.
Well, no, it'll stay in the room. Don't worry, it'll never go beyond that. That's fine. That's awesome. And where did you shoot this?
I shot in Toronto.
Oh yeah. And over the.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I love Toronto. I'm from Canada.
I know.
3 of us. Fantastic. And when did you shoot that?
Last year.
Last year? Mm-hmm. And it's going to be a big budget thing, or what was it?
It wasn't a big budget thing, it was a small budget thing, but I think it's a good film.
Oh, can't wait. What's it called again?
I'll follow you down.
Down. It's like I'll follow you on Twitter, but just cross out Twitter and put it down.
No, not at all.
It's not even close. My mind works.
All right.
Fantastic. But I want to say how much I loved you on Great Expectations as Miss Okay. Tell me about that for a second, because...
Are we allowed to talk about this? Shouldn't we be talking about comic books?
Hey, I got the microphone. I can talk about that. Yes, we'll open it up to questions. The mic microphone.
Okay.
I just want to ask that question for a second, because I rarely get to see you. I just want to say that was an incredible performance. How did you come up with that? Because every time I've seen that, it's always been a cranky old lady in a rocking chair and the log burns her up, and this was this ephemeral, light being. It was like an incredible acting choice. How did you come up with that? Was that a choice that the director and the production, what?
In brief, when I read a script, whatever comes into my head as I'm reading it is the way that I interpret it. And for whatever reason, that's how I could identify with her, and that's how she was. So from that point on, it was a matter of finding her voice and you know, transporting it into the physical realm. But I didn't tell anybody, and it wasn't until I think I did, when I was doing press for it, I suddenly realized that the first time I actually spoke her voice out loud was when the cameras were rolling on the first take. And I thought, well, what? Shit, I didn't think about this. What happens if the director had walked up to me and said, what are you doing? Can we do something different, please? Because that is weird. But fortunately, he didn't.
No.
And so, yeah.
But also the way you were lit and everything so supported that character.
Yeah, it was beautifully shot. It was. I don't think the director and the rest of the production team got enough attention for that because it was a beautiful, beautiful looking production.
Yeah. For those of you who haven't seen it, you got to see this thing. It's Great Expectations. It was the BBC series.
BBC series.
It was the BBC series. Fantastic. Fantastic work.
It's on DVD, but back to comics.
We're going back to comics now. Chris has something to say.
Yeah, well, I was curious. So as we're doing this, we're putting together the plan of what the characters are up to now, and I wanted to let Joe talk about what the comic series is for people who haven't seen it.
Right.
I'm just curious for Chris and for Jillian. Like, I know you guys have moved on to different projects and building different characters and all of that. Do you ever give thought, or had you given any thought to where your characters would be, 10 years later, or what have you? Like, what? We have our plan for what Scully's up to now, but have you ever sort of mused over where you would be, were the story to pick back up again?
I think we mused over it yesterday.
Yeah, sure. Amused, definitely. Yeah.
Sex.
Now, I'm a big no Romo guy, though. I'm quite upset that Mulder and Scully got back together. I'm just letting you know, Chris, where I stand. I'm not a shipper. Is there anyone else that's no Romo here? 3 of us. Again, the Canadians. Are we the only ones that just appreciated a...
Like the gunman, no romance lives forever.
Wow. That sounded like how I got killed off the first time. Tone. That's hilarious.
And so, Joe, how did you formulate your plan of where, what was your starting point for the story?
I guess the starting point was the end of, there were a lot of things lingering. There were some unanswered questions at the end of season 9. And for me, I just thought of some of the more intriguing elements that were driving these characters at the end, and how we could extrapolate from there. Dealing with the child, what happened to some of the elements of the conspiracy. I mean, we've seen, the syndicate are gone, but the tendrils are still out there. So there's a lot of little things to pick up and play with. And basically what we're trying to do with this book is sort of take the formula, I think that was, as a teenager, was really impressed on me, is breaking up, doing mythology stories interspersed with, the quote-unquote monster of the week type stuff, and trying to, bring us into the future while still hearkening to the past wherever possible so that it feels familiar, but doesn't feel too retro. And that's pretty much the formula going forward.
Yeah.
Now, Joe, I'm sorry I don't know your resume. What were you writing before this?
I've written a bunch of comics. I've written a few horror films. I write a sci-fi series for Image called Great Pacific at the moment. Yeah, and I've written a lot of stuff for Marvel and DC Comics as well.
Cool. That's awesome. And Denton, you're sitting here quietly.
Oh yeah, my heart's just beating because I'm sitting next to Joe.
Happens all the time. What's your official function?
I'm an editor. I basically, run the show, basically make sure we're on time. Work with both Chris and Fox on making sure the story meets all the standards that they work with. And just make sure we, the trains are running on time.
How hard is that?
It's actually been really easy. Joe is a really fast writer. We also have a fast artist, Michael Walsh, and a great colorist. So the team's been, really on time, and Fox and Chris have been really easy to work with. So it's been one of the smoothest experiences I've had on a licensed comic.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, now we're going to open it up to the floor. There's a microphone right there. If you have a question, please, maybe the baby admin has a question. I can bring it to the microphone. Either way, feel free to come up and ask questions, and we'll take them one at a time. Yes, you with the lovely child.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
I just want to say really quick that because of x-phile, I met my oldest and dearest friend, so thank you. You're our mutual love. And I guess it's not comic related, but is there any guest star that you regret not being able to get on the show as an actor?
There were lots of people who said they wanted to do the show, and then when it came time to actually do the show, didn't do the show. And the two that come to mind, we were talking about one yesterday that already slipped my mind over. Drew Barrymore's, yeah, thank you. The other two, at the same time, two actresses had approached me and said we want to do the show, and I wrote an episode for them. And one of them was Roseanne Barr. And the other one was Cher. And I think you guys probably know the episode I'm talking about. It's the black and white episode that actually has a Cher impersonator in it. It actually worked out better with the impersonator. And it actually worked out better with Roseanne Barr without her participating. And so I have to say, there were two actresses I would have liked to have in the show, and I'm happy that it didn't work out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir, your question there.
Looking forward to reading the comic, guys. Jillian, you're beautiful as ever. Chris, my question is towards Chris. You had a feature that you were working on, Vince Walker?
Yep.
Yeah, I actually worked on it. I was P.T. Sweeney's partner.
Oh, really?
Several of the scenes.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what happened to that.
I put it away. I put it aside, and yeah, I put it aside.
Okay, cool, fair enough.
Thank you.
Hi, this one is for Chris. Is there any future for older productions like Haglund or Millennium comic book format?
Hey.
I want to believe that Frank Black will be back.
There's actually a little movement to bring Frank Black and Millennium back. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but it would be great to do it in comic book form. As Harsh Realm was a perfect comic book concept. So will it happen? I don't know. Could it happen? The truth is out there.
Thanks. Who's that up on screen? Like, isn't he dead?
Yes.
Yeah, that's the cover of issue 3. So
This is the cover of issue 3. This guy, here's another person coming back to life. Is everybody coming back to life on this show?
Lots of people are coming back in some way, shape, or form. There's going to be a little bit of an explanation, though. It's not as cut and dry as it seems, but for all intents and purposes, yeah.
Right.
That's one of my favorite things about what Joe's doing is you can't take anything at face value. It makes the comics that much more interesting for me.
Yeah, well, we don't just want to retcon everything. I mean, as much as we want to see these characters again, I think you want to see these characters again. So it's about finding creative ways to bring them back that doesn't undo what's already been done, but lets us kind of bring you what it is you want. And that's going forward. I've got quite a few of those lined up.
But that must be a ton of threads to keep in line. How do you have like a massive whiteboard, or is that Chris's memory again? His fantastic memory of keeping all that together.
I scribble a lot of notes down.
Is that right? Because Chris, remember how incredible your memory was. I brought a friend in who played a sheriff in season 1 or 2, and he moved to LA. And he said to me, oh, there's this, they're auditioning for a sheriff on the X-Files, and this is season 8. So you've seen now hundreds of actors. We moved from Vancouver to Los Angeles. I go, well, I'll bring you in the office, but I can't promise you anything. I'll reintroduce you. And then I walk in, and even before you say hi to me, you go, hey, you were the sheriff in season 2. Like, just like that, without even me introducing him at all. Do you still have that amazing recall of every actor and everything you've ever worked on?
Senile dementia has
all that surfing? That's right. Okay, hey, your question.
Hi. There have been several X-Files comics over the years, but this one I really, really like. It feels like the series is just picking right up, so fantastic job.
Thanks.
Jillian, thank you so much for coming and making yourself so accessible. This is really a lot of fun. My question
What booth is that?
3:30 today.
At 3:30 today.
Booth number 2643, IDW booth.
At the IDW booth, and then after that, and all day tomorrow, I'll be at the Lightspeed 3745. Lightspeed 3745. Alright?
Alright.
And I got some memorabilia there and stuff like that, some really rare things if you guys are interested.
And my question is actually for you. How do you, I'm sure you've signed away the rights to the character of Scully, but how do you feel about having yourself interpreted by different artists? Do you ever see any of that work? How do you feel that your likeness is in their hands?
Well, it's a little odd, I have to say, just because I feel quite removed from the whole process. I'm not really a part of it in any way other than just saying, yes, this drawing looks okay, no, make those eyes a little bit smaller, that kind of thing. It's funny because on the first one where I was approving the head of Scully, I didn't realize that the rest of her was in a slinky dress with exposed boobs. That's okay, I can swim with that. So that was bizarre.
It's like that haunted mansion painting where it sort of grows and you see what's going on under the neck.
I would have liked to approve the breasts though, so next time when you're...
I approve the breasts.
Who gets a contract with best breast approval?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi.
Hi, my name is Brian. I just want to thank Chris and Jillian for 20 years of very visceral nightmares and great memories. My question is for you, Chris. I know a lot of fans found it a little controversial, the reveal of the fate of Samantha Mulder. And I, for one, found it very touching how that was revealed. But I guess it got me curious as to whether or not that was set in stone from the beginning or if it was something that sort of evolved. Because my question is, when did you know what had happened to her, and might we see her story continue in the comics?
It's a good question. I don't know, but that would be an interesting thing to explore. I tell people this because it's the truth. When you do a TV show, you expect and you're expected to